I really enjoy the ladies there. Love them to pieces, and I think that we're out there doing a good thing.
I do too. And for those of you who may not be familiar, actually the Queen of the Road Awards are actually going on right now. So if you haven't had an opportunity to check that out, we encourage you to either go to the Real Women in Trucking website or go to the Facebook page, and you can actually cast your vote for your favorite Queen of the Road stories. There's actually Trainer of the Year up there, and there's just some great women that are nominated this year. And I'm excited to see who's going to win. So it's going to be exciting.
It is, yes, and vote. Everybody can vote. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're their grandmother or if you think you know somebody, vote. That's what makes it great.
Absolutely. And we're going to actually crown the Queen of the Road winner at MAT, which Tom was just talking about in the last segment, because Real Women in Trucking and Tier both are going to be at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky. So I was going to let you tell everybody a little bit about what the Tier organization is, but I do want to tell everybody that if you'd like more information, you can visit their website, and it is cdltier.org. So cdltier.org. And then I'll let you tell a little bit about the organization and how it got started.
Okay. So the TIER stands for Truckers Emergency Assistance Responders. And, I'm not exactly sure. Desiree started it with Real Women in Trucking, but it's to help drivers that get abandoned by their carriers, or if they have a medical need. A lot of times we have to refer them to the wonderful people at St. Christopher's Fund, and they refer to us as well, so that we can help each other out and we can help the drivers out, and that's critical. And if you supported Amazon Smile, you could have chose us for one of their what do you call it, when you order on Amazon, you go to their Smile program, you can pick an affiliate and they send some money to you. But unfortunately, they've quit that this year. So a lot of us, when it's our birthday, we do a fundraiser for, that's what we ask for our birthday fundraiser, is to receive donations to TIER. Everything we do is 100% donations. I don't know, other than to talk to you about, I don't know if you remember when Arrow went out of business and they left all of their drivers stranded.
Yes.
There was a lot of great companies that stepped up. Arrow was a flatbed company, and they left a lot of their drivers stranded wherever they ran out of fuel at, which is certainly very sad. And a lot of great companies stepped up and got their drivers home. And the thought is, you don't leave a driver out on the road. They might have screwed up, they might have hit a pole, or they might have crashed in the snow or whatever, but they don't deserve to be left. Not ever. If you work for a company that you think is going to do that for you, get another company.
Absolutely. And it's a real thing. I mean, I know over the last, let's say the last 3 years, we have seen some major trucking corporations go under. And unfortunately, when they go under, a lot of times the truck drivers are stranded. They usually turn off their fuel cards. These truck drivers have no way to get home. And if they don't have a nice savings account or money to tap into, or family to help them out, it becomes a crisis situation. And so carrier abandonment is a real thing in the trucking industry.
It is, and it's horrifying. And the thing you say, if they don't have money to help them out, or they don't have family to help them out, the thing that they need to do is have a credit card, not a prepaid credit card. Although if you have to start that way to get one, get your prepaid card, charge it up, pay it off, charge it up, pay it off, until you can get one that is not a prepaid card. Because if you need to get a rental car to get home, they won't take a debit card, and it's pretty sad. Trying to get them home, sometimes it's just dang near impossible.
Yes, that's actually a really great piece of advice. Actually, when I had interviewed Robert with the Truckers Final Mile, he actually has suggested the exact same thing, that you should always have a credit card somewhere in your truck for an emergency that you never ever use, but has that credit on there available to you for that reason right there, because you just never know what's going to happen over the road where you're going to need to tap into some type of credit to get home.
That's correct. And you know, it's not that you never ever use it. You use it, you pay it off right away. You know, I don't ever use a credit card unless I've got the money to pay it by the end of the month, because that's how you get your credit built up, and that's how your $1,000 credit card goes to a $5,000 credit card. And just be smart with your money that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, so like we had kind of mentioned a little bit about the carrier abandonment, and you know, a lot of times it's not when a trucking company goes under, like you said. It could be because maybe the truck driver got fired, or for many other reasons. Is there any stories that kind of come to mind of people that you guys have helped over the years where it was in a carrier abandonment situation?
Sure. In fact, we've had like 5 this week. Well, from the 11th to the 18th. I'm trying to.
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay, so it says I'm stranded in the truck stop. My company is saying they no longer want to work with me due to my not satisfying my hours of service that they changed, putting me in violation. They're leaving me stranded, and the company sent a driver to get the keys from my truck, and he pulled the gun on her. She has a police report, and she was held by tier. But that was senseless, you know. She didn't want to change her hours of service because that puts her in violation, and that violation points against her, you know. I mean, if she were to get caught. Now, you know, maybe nothing would happen, but if they got an audit, then she's in violation and she's got points.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme when I've been talking with truckers lately, is how many companies, you know, don't mind if you do things illegally, like maybe drive overweight or, you know, fub your hours on your hours of service. You know, and the thing that drivers need to remember, whether they're a seasoned driver or a new driver, that doesn't affect the company as badly as how it's going to affect you if you're the one that gets caught driving that overweight or driving with your hours not correct. You know, the drivers always got to remember that's them on the line.
It is. And I had another one. It said, I had a minor accident in a parking lot, struck a lamppost, and was terminated. Company is withholding my paycheck for alleged damage, and myself and my service dog are kicked out on the streets in the cold and snow and no way to get back to Tennessee from North Illinois. So he's another reason for abandonment. And another one that we don't help is if you get a random drug test and you don't pass it, then they terminate you and leave you where you're at. And we don't help them because they did it. You know, that they knew what the consequences of what their actions were. So,
that's very true, and that's very smart. And unfortunately, that also is an issue that we have seen a lot in our industry. Oh my goodness. I actually just read an article about that, about how with the CBD and all that the numbers have just increased in the clearinghouse just because of that reason there.
Right. So I can't remember some of the questions you were going to ask me, but I just wanted to tell you briefly, and it's very important that I tell you this because last year we helped 33 drivers. We had 78 applications, and the total money cost is $13,481 that we paid out. Everything we get is a donation, you know. And so we had one driver that needed help, and we didn't have money. And Desiree got on there and did some fundraising, and we got enough money to get him home. You know, that's the sad part. You know, when we run out of money, we can't help.
That's right.
We're very, very scrutinizing of who we help. If they filled out an application, we had 78 applications, by the way, and some of them, when they found out that we would be calling their company, never finished filling out the application. So that tells me that they weren't on the up and up, you know, or they found another way to help themselves, which is always great.
Right. We're going to take just a quick break, but before we do, I do want to remind everyone that the TIER organization is a 501c3 charity organization, and I am going to tell you a little bit about how, if you would like to make a donation, how you can do that when we come back from the commercial break. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to Taillights with the Baums.
This blog on tncradio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 5 best scenic drives for truck drivers. One of the many benefits of being a truck driver is traveling the beautiful United States. Truck drivers spend their life on the road. Although they may get tired of driving, there's still routes and attractions most look forward to seeing. Whether it be cruising down the coast of California, driving in the Smoky Mountains, or passing through the Arizona desert, truck drivers all have their personal favorites. Here are the 5 most beautiful scenic drives rated by truck drivers. Pacific Coast Highway. The Pacific Coast in California, also called Highway 1, is one of the most iconic scenic drives in the United States. Driving along the Pacific Coast reminds you of a movie or TV show. It's about 650 miles long and runs from Capistrano Beach in Orange County to Leggett in northern Mendocino. San Juan Skyway. San Juan Skyway, a scenic byway in Colorado, is known for its million-dollar views. The byway goes across the San Juan National Forest and has provided truckers with beautiful views of the mountains and landscape. Beartooth Highway. Beartooth Highway in Montana is a 68-mile byway that runs through southwest Montana and northwest Wyoming and goes into Yellowstone National Park. Along this drive, you'll see one of the most diverse ecosystems accessible by vehicle in the United States. Keep in mind that the scenic highway closes in the winter due to adverse winter conditions and typically opens up on Memorial Day weekend. I-64 in West Virginia. West Virginia has some of the most beautiful landscapes on the East Coast. Driving down I-64 in West Virginia feels like you're in a painting. If you have time to stop along your truck route, check out Tamarack, located just off I-64 in Beckley, West Virginia. Tamarack is a unique culture center with art from local artisans and delicious food. If you want the full Appalachian experience, check out Tamarack. Utah's Route 12. Utah's Route 12 is one of the most scenic routes in the United States. It's often called the All-American Road. Also, there are 2 national parks at each end of the road, Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef, and many other unique scenic views. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
As a professional driver, the engineers at Front Lane know that you remain focused on the road regardless of weather and traffic conditions. That's not always true of the drivers behind you. Every 9 minutes, another commercial vehicle is rear-ended by a driver failing to control their speed. And guess who gets the blame? When you have to brake quickly, Tailbone illuminates a series of bright LED lights that allow the driver behind you to react up to 50% faster. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Tailbone meets the standards set by the NHTSA and the FMCSA. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/tailbone. That's www.frontlane.com/tailbone. Approved in all 50 states, it's Tailbone by Front Lane.
I'm Ron Samuels. We put it in reverse gear so you can enjoy the history of popular music and hear the soundtrack of life Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central, right after the train station on tncradio.live.
Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Taillights with the Baums, and tonight we've been talking with Michelle Estelari from Tier Organization, and we've been talking a little bit before the commercial break about carrier abandonment. And I did want to tell everybody, if you're interested in making a donation to the Tier Organization, and of course I just lost my page, but you can actually, there's 2 different ways that you can make a donation right now. You can make a donation through Cash App, and that's going to be the $CDL Tier, TEAR, or through PayPal at cdltier@gmail.com. Or you can always visit their website, cdltier.org, to get more information. I did want, you had just mentioned, actually, Michelle, when we were in commercial break, I know that Tier's going to be at MASS, the Mid-America Truck Show. And yes, I actually did find out today that you guys are going to be doing a raffle there.
We are. We've actually got, I don't know if you know what a Minky Couture blanket is. Do you know what that is?
I do, yes.
Oh, they are so wonderful. But we have two of those for raffle. We have a handmade quilt. We have some kind of Beats earbuds. I'm not into the technology part of stuff, but we just have some really cute things. We have we have 50 swag bags that we're going to encourage people to help us fill. So that'll be fun. And that'll all be raffled. And I think we're going to do some raffling on Friday and some on Saturday.
Oh, see, that'll be fun. That's always the fun part. You get to get all kinds of swag, you get to meet all kinds of people, and then you get to enter for all these cool raffles, and the money's going to go for a great organization, which is even better.
Yes, it'll really help us out to, stretch us through the year and stuff.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things we talked about carrier abandonment, but the other thing that a lot of truckers go through is wage theft. Can you explain a little bit about like what wage theft is and how it affects a truck driver?
Okay, so we had a driver that got terminated, and I'm not even sure why he got terminated, but he had a $2,400 check coming. And instead of getting that $2,400 check, what they did was they charged him for everything they could find to come up to that $2,400 mark. So they ended up not giving him a check, which is really wrong. I mean, if they had grievances against him and they wanted him to pay for whatever, like a late load is $150 fine. I understand that. But if you don't sign a contract saying you'll be responsible to pay for a bent bumper, or you're going to be responsible to pay for any load damage, anything like that, you have to sign a paper saying that they can take that money from you. So in that case, a lot of times we have to refer them to, we have a couple of really good lawyers that work with real women in trucking, and we assign them to call the lawyer and, speak to them and see what we can get working out to get their money back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. I have known truckers that have been in that situation. And unfortunately, it is almost a common practice amongst a lot of the smaller trucking companies and some of the bigger ones too, where they will nitpick and find every little thing they can to make sure the driver doesn't get his last check. It's so bad that if Larry and I leave a job, we just kind of figure, well, we're not going to get that last paycheck because they're going to find some reason to take it from us. But it's great that, the tier organization tries to get them, some legal help so they can try and recoup some of that money.
Right. Well, and if they've been abandoned and they haven't got a paycheck and they haven't had a meal in 3 days, we're for sure going to get them a meal, We'll get them a gift card or whatever we need to do to get them something to eat.
And a lot of times, I think what people don't often think about is when a driver is abandoned, 90% of the time they're abandoned with all the stuff that they had in their truck. And a lot of times they have no place to put that stuff. But a lot of them drive with pets too. So now you've got to be thinking about the pet's needs. Maybe the pet didn't have food or water or whatever. And so a lot of times, not only you're having to take care of the driver, but you're also having to take care of any needs of a pet that they might have as well.
Exactly. And a pet is a lot of the reason a driver can't get themselves home. They have a pet. They have all of their stuff. They can't rent a car because they don't have a credit card. And the only recourse is to get a U-Haul. The smallest one you can find, get a U-Haul so they can get their pet home, get their stuff home.
Right. Which, of course, that can cost a penny, a pretty penny as well, because yes. A lot of the rental companies don't want pets in their vehicles. So it can be difficult, especially if you're traveling with pets. So another thing that I think people don't often think about also is carrier retaliation. And sadly, that's another thing that's pretty prevalent in our industry. And it kind of goes a little bit along with the wage theft. But can you explain a little bit about what exactly carrier retaliation is and how Tier steps in to offer assistance?
Okay, so carrier retaliation, I can't say that word either. The carrier will put stuff on their DAX report that isn't true, and they know it's not true. But that DAX report follows you to your next job, and that's one way that they retaliate against them. Not only can they put them out of the truck, then they put bad marks on their driving record of like accidents that never happened. And you're going to find that a lot of times in a 1099 driver. And it's unfortunate that I have to say that, but it's true because they got no recourse. And these people that run their drivers on 1099s knows that their recourse is so limited that if they do that, there's not too much the driver can do about it.
Absolutely. And for those who may not be familiar with a DAC report is accessible to anybody who's wanting to possibly hire you in the future. And it explains, like if you left the company in bad standing, or you had accidents, or maybe, you left the truck in a bad mess or whatever, your carrier can put any of that information on your DAC report. And that's something that's going to follow you from job to job to job.
For at least 10 years.
Yeah. And it's very hard to get something off of your DAC report.
That's correct. You can fight it, but all you can do is tell your side of the story. The employer's told their side of the story. So now if you're a company looking to hire this guy, you're going to look at both of those stories, and then you're going to side with the employer, because why would the employer lie, right? The driver's going to lie because he needs a job. And that's just not right.
Yeah, and that's so true. I actually had a driver that we had to actually refer to earlier this year that went through that very same situation, where I believe it was his driver manager was threatening to put something on his DAC report that was not true. And, if it wasn't for Desiree and you guys stepping in, it probably would have been included on his DAC report. And he had never even heard of a DAC report until that moment. So It scared him.
And rightfully, it should have scared him. And he should, I have one guy that, it was not too long ago, and he kept telling me, look, I've taken pictures, I've done this, I've done that, I've recorded phone calls, because I know what they're going to do to me. And, that was a smart thing for him to do. And when I called his company, because we call the companies if we possibly can to make sure that these people are not scamming us. And when I called his company and I said, what you're doing isn't right. Is that what you do to all of your drivers? And I kind of guilt tripped this gal into, no, we're not going to do that. We certainly have no interest in that. But I think that they surely would have, had I not made that call and told them, what I knew.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, such a shame. Well, we're going to take another break here in just a few minutes. But before we do, I just want to remind everyone that if you would like more information about the TIER organization, you can visit their website. It's going to be cdltear.org. Or if you're interested in possibly making a donation to help them assist other drivers in the future, you can make a donation through Cash App at $CDLTEAR, or through PayPal at CDLTEAR@gmail.com. And we're going to take just a quick commercial break. And when we come back, Michelle and I are going to talk a little bit more about the TIER organization and about how they're going to be at MATS and how you can come see Michelle and I at MATS. So we'll be back in just a few minutes with Taillights with the Bomb.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. Very often I'll have a patient who'll come in and tell me about symptoms of anxiety or about depression. And they're not sure where it's coming from. They just know that they're hurting and that they have many symptoms that they'd like to see relieved. And I'll ask them to do something for me that helps me to identify what is the chief contributor to their issue. I'll ask them to draw me a pie chart. Have you ever seen a pie chart before? I'm sure you have. Like the government has a pie chart. It's shaped like a pie and it shows spending. And say 40% of it is military and 20% is education or whatever it is, the total makes up 100% of the pie. So I'll ask somebody, draw me a pie chart of your depression. Or how about a pie chart that says, I am your anxiety? Where is the anxiety coming from? And it's fascinating to see the results because people will often draw a giant slice that has to do with their work or their relationship or something from the past that they can't seem to get over. But that gives me the clue to know where to go to help them to finally heal. Try it.
This is Matthew Kilmer out of Independence, Missouri, a proud member of the NADRA.
Hello, my name is Candace. I am from Texas. I am an NADRA council member.
Hi, my name is Connie. I'm an NADRA council member.
Hey everybody, this is Eric from Bradenton, Florida. I'm an NADRA council member.
Hello, I'm Bob Murphy.
And I'm Deborah Murphy. We're part of the NADRA.
We're sending 10,000 toy trucks to Washington, D.C. to send a message of unity.
I'm Hope Savara. Join us on tncradio.live at 7 p.m. Eastern with Building Strong Minds with your host, Dr. Christopher Cortman.
Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Taillights with the Baums, and we've been talking with Michelle Scolari of the TIER organization. And one of the things which I think is awesome is that the TIER organization does help drivers when they've been sick or injured over the road. Can you explain a little bit about how you guys step in to try to help a driver get home?
Okay, so if you're sick and you can't get home, we had one gal last year, and she put into TIER an application because she just needed fuel put in her reefer. And this kind of broke my heart. Her reefer was at the truck stop. The ambulance come and got her and took her to the hospital. So when she come about her wits, she was asking us to help get fuel in her reefer. And she had been in a coma for 10 days, didn't even know it.
Oh.
So got a hold of her company. Her company had a driver come in, pick up her trailer, fuel it, go deliver it, leave her an empty trailer there, not knowing how long she was going to be in the hospital. And anyway, when she got out of the hospital, she was on oxygen and she had to have a motel room to complete her doctor course to get off the oxygen, which was going to be 5 days. So we paid motel for her right there close to the hospital. Her son was having Uber Eats sent to her so she could eat, and we knew that was going on. We would have been willing to help her get food, whatever it needed. And then when it came time for her to go home, her son came to get her and didn't have the gas money to get back home, so we gave him the gas money to get home. So that's one of the ones that we've helped in that situation.
Oh, that poor girl. Oh, my goodness. 10 days in a coma. That's awful.
Yeah, and she thought she was only there overnight. And she was so worried because her reefer only had a half tank of fuel. And that goes to show that her equipment and her job was important to her, but she wasn't conscious of what was going on around her. And we have another one, and this one just happened recently. There was a gal that was visiting a friend in Smyrna, Georgia, and while she was there, she had an emergency appendectomy. And the day she was released from the hospital, her fleet manager had her truck recovered, and she was told she would have to reapply to this company. So she wrote, I was left with no job, no money, no transportation. I managed to get a family member to get me to Louisiana and currently staying there as I am now homeless, and my vehicle is in Salt Lake City, which breaks my heart, at the terminal. I don't have any funds to get to my vehicle. Any assistance would be greatly appreciated. Well, I was on the road. Idella was on the road. Desiree drove up here and made sure that her vehicle was still here in Salt Lake City. Then we flew her in from Louisiana to Salt Lake. She went to get her van, and it wouldn't start. So
oh, no.
Go figure, right? Desiree got her AAA card out and had them come and jump her car. And then we gave her gas money to get back to Colorado, to where she was really originally living. And Desiree has also contacted a a lawyer for her, and she's written her story in the Federal Registry for Employer-Driven Debt for the Consumer Finance Bureau. So I guess you understand what driver-driven debt is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where they drive you, they drive you into the ground, and you've got nothing. And
yes.
So anyway, there's going to be some help for this lady, but it wasn't when she needed it. It's going to be down the road a ways.
Oh, well, and I think you brought up something really important when you were sharing those two stories, is that everybody who is part of Real Women in Trucking and part of the TIER organization, we're all truck drivers. So this isn't your only job. I mean, your job is you're a truck driver, and then you also do TIER on the side. And so I think that's important for everybody to know, is that everybody that volunteers and that are members of this organization, we're all truck drivers or been in the trucking industry ourselves.
Right. And, like if
volunteering or to help out the TIER organization, they're always looking for volunteers. And just some of the ways that you could help is just by helping to investigate the client's requests for help, finding services and resources for drivers who are needing help, answering phone calls and emails in a timely manner, bilingual translation for drivers needing assistance. So there's always ways that they could always use some help if anybody's interested in volunteering their time as well.
Okay, so the bilingual stuff we definitely could use help with. As far as we've taken the time to train volunteers that are not in the industry, because they say, oh, well, we'll be available, we'll help you out. But every time we train them, they disappear. 1 or 2 calls, and they can't take it. And I totally understand. It breaks your heart. It brings you down. But if we need somebody to make calls and stuff, you've got to be willing to talk to the company, to talk to the driver, and sometimes go with your gut instinct. That happens too.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because, I mean, a lot of these calls that you're taking, number one, they're not easy, because a lot of times you have to kind of decipher between the driver's story, the company's story, and everything else in between, and try to, like you say, go with your gut instinct, or what are you guys going to do to try to help them. So it's not easy, but it's necessary and needed.
It is. And I had a driver call, and he was somewhere in Nevada with the load going to Florida, and his sister had died, and he needed to get there and plan the funeral, but there was no fuel in the truck, and the fuel card was cut off. And we are not going to, if he wanted to fly from Reno, let's say, and fly to Florida, we could have helped him. But we're not going to put fuel in that truck to progress it forward for a boss that's going to keep the money. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
We cannot be progressing somebody else's equipment where they're going to get paid on it. And when it came down to it, he'd gotten to Texas, because I told him, call the broker on the load, tell him you need money for fuel to get the load there, and see how they can help you. And so he got to Texas, and then he said he was out of money, he needed a shower, he needed to wash his clothes, he needed to get to Florida. We gave him money for food and told him, I had told him before, we're not going to progress your load forward. If you want to leave that load and get to Florida, or whatever your arrangement is. Well, my gut tells me that was that guy's truck, and he didn't have money for fuel. That was what my gut instinct was. But I don't want to see nobody out on the road starving. I'm going to make sure you got some food.
Yeah, and see that's it. It's hard because it's hard to know, what the true story is and how you as an organization can help out. And so that's so true. You do have to go with your gut instinct a lot of times.
Well, and the phone number he gave me to call, nobody answered it. And of course, if they're out of business, they're not answering his calls, they're not answering my calls, whatever. But how did he get the money to get to Texas? From the broker, which is
right.
That would be one of the first calls you make. I'm under your load and I've got no fuel.
Right, absolutely.
They take that money right off the top of the load.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I did also want to mention, before we get ready to go to commercial break, I had mentioned earlier that TIER is a 501c3 charity organization that's run solely off the donations of the people and truckers in the organization that can help out. And one of the things you kind of mentioned earlier is that we had mentioned you're going to be at Matt's Mid-America Truck Show. And if you want to explain a little bit about the raffle that's going on before we go to commercial break, that's going to be going on at the Mid-America Truck Show.
So we're having a really neat raffle. We got a handmade quilt. We've got 2 Minky Couture blankets. We've got Arctic cups with, I don't know if you know how they keep everything cold or hot for hours. We have some of that. We have ear beats or something like, I'm not technically literate. So
the Beats headphones, yeah.
Yeah. So we have some of that, and we have 50 swag bags, and we're actually going to raffle some on Friday and some on Saturday. So if you buy a raffle ticket from us and you don't happen to be there, guess what? We're going to ship it to you.
Hey, you can't beat that.
Nope. You fill it out, and all you really need to do on the little ticket is put your name and phone number, and we're going to call you and get your address if you're one of the winners.
That's awesome. We're going to take just a quick commercial break, but I do want to remind everybody, if you're going to go to the Matt's Mid-America Truck Show, which is at the end of March, you can see Michelle and I will both be there at the Real Women in Trucking and the Tiers booth, and I'll also be there representing TNC Radio, so we're super excited about that. But we're going to take just a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back talking with Michelle Scolari. You're listening to Taillights with the Baums.
Front Lane introduces Impulse, the world's first collision alert system for the driver behind you when you have to brake hard. Impulse uses ultra-bright pulsing red LEDs to alert drivers behind you who might not be giving their full attention to the road. Using amazing accelerometer technology and a battery that will last for years, Impulse installs in minutes, fits nearly any vehicle, and never requires additional wiring. Drivers react 50% faster, helping to protect you and your passengers. Learn more by visiting www.frontlane.com/impulse. That's www.frontlane.com/impulse. Approved by all 50 states. Impulse by Frontlane.
Tips for starting your own trucking company. If you want to start your own trucking company, there are many things to consider. The Truckers Network has put together a list of tips for starting your own trucking company that'll help you get going in the right direction. Have a business plan. Pick a name for your trucking company. Perform a trademark search online to make sure your name's available. Select your target market. Targeting the right market is critical when starting a trucking company. Becoming a special carrier can help you avoid some competition. It could also help you increase your sales opportunities. Make some important decisions. Come up with your rates. Decide if you want to be an owner-operator, and will you do short hauls or long hauls. Know the legal requirements. You must have a valid CDL, commercial driver's license, and if you're going to be an owner-operator, you'll need to follow the terms of the FMCSA. That's the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And you must use United States Department of Transportation and Motor Carrier Authority numbers. That's the USDOT and MC. The USDOT number tracks your safety records and regulatory compliance. The MC number, also known as Operating Authority, classifies your trucking company and the cargo you can carry. To get these numbers, you'll need to register your trucking business with the FMCSA. Get trucking insurance and register with the UCR system after getting your USDOT and MC numbers. Apply for an IFTA, that's an International Fuel Tax Agreement permit. This permit allows your business to get one fuel license, and the rule says you can file fuel tax returns 4 times a year in the state your business is based in. There's several more permits and forms I didn't mention that you'll need based on where you plan to drive and the goods you intend to carry. The FMCSA is a great place to learn more. Funding your trucking business. In most cases, starting...
Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com.
Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Taillights with the Baums, and we have been talking with Michelle Scolari from the TIER organization. And we this is our last segment, and I didn't know if there was any stories that you kind of wanted to share with everybody before we close out the segment about some truckers that you've helped over the last couple of years.
I want to tell you about one we helped last week. And it was the one I told you earlier during the break, but he said he felt drowsy. He owned it, but he said he felt drowsy and he was stopping at Quartzsite, putting it to bed. But before he got to Quartzsite, he rear-ended a box truck and totaled his truck. Nobody got hurt, thank God. But his company was really struggling, and they had just paid $20,000 insurance premium. Three of the drivers, there's only four in the company, three of them had called out not wanting to work because the weather was so bad. So he was going to be the hero, and he was going to get that load in, get the struggling company back up and going. And he crashed and they couldn't help him. They couldn't do anything for him because they had no money. He wants us to understand that his company has been with 5 years. They have been very upstanding, and it was just, like, what do they call that? Raging storm come in. So he slept in an underpass. He had his dog and all of his stuff from his truck, and he slept under the underpass in Quartzsite one night. The next day, we had got his application, and we were trying to figure out how we could get him from here to there. U-Haul is closed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Or Saturday and Sunday, I'm sorry. So he couldn't even get a U-Haul until Monday. And he got a ride with the driver into Phoenix because he felt his chances would be better to get something there. And he knew that, he was applying to TIER, and we were going to help him somehow. But bless his little heart, we paid for him to get a local U-Haul to get his truck out of this other driver's stuff, or get his stuff out of the other driver's truck. And he got a little local $19 a day U-Haul for the 3 days of the weekend. Monday morning, he had his butt in the bank applying for a credit card that he didn't think he'd get, but he said he was going to try to help himself any way he could. And bless his heart, he got the credit card, and he got his stuff home. He got an Uber to the airport, picked up a car, and went to Chicago. Well, when he got to Chicago, his vehicle wouldn't start, and his credit card is now maxed. So he called to tell me, I got plans. We're going to make it home. So he had to buy a new starter for his truck, and he got home. And that's a case of somebody that gets stranded that tries to help themselves. Whereas the same week, which was last week, another driver in Colorado, he knew he wasn't going to pass his DOT physical, and he only had a 90-day physical. So instead of saving up money to get home, he got him a motel room. And I swear to you, I was making him, every step of the way, I was telling him, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to check on that, you need to see if you can get help. And he chose to stay at the motel and get a DOT physical that he did pass, but then he was out of money. So then what? So we had to help him because you just don't leave a person stranded. But we didn't help him get home because he had a job lined up, and the new to be employer told him, if you could get to here, we'll get somebody to get you to us. And that's what we did. We just helped him get to where they were going to have a meetup.
And see, that's the important thing. You guys can offer assistance, but if they're not willing to do some of the work to help themselves, it makes it really difficult in the long run.
It does. And if you tell me that you have a PayPal account or you need something Western Union, we're on the road. We can't just stop and go to a Western Union.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
oh, my goodness.
You need to get a Cash App. You need to get a Venmo. You need to get a Zelle. Whatever you need, you need to be prepared if we need to send you money for how we can get it to you.
Absolutely. We want to remind everyone before we get ready to close out, just a couple things. First of all, if you are a big sports fan, and please don't forget to stick around. We have Anderson and Banker coming up next with Clutch Time Sports. But we also want to remind you that if you're interested in donating to the TIER organization, you can visit their website at cdltier.org, or you can send money through Cash App at $CDLTIER, or through PayPal at cdltier@gmail.com. So just remember, you can also visit them on Facebook as well to get more information about the organization. And again, Michelle and I will be at Matt's with Real Women in Trucking and the TIER organization. So if you're going to be at the Matt's Truck Show, be sure to come by and say hi to Michelle and I. I'm sure we'd love to see everybody.
Throw a little money in the bucket, buy a raffle ticket.
Exactly. There's going to be so many great things there. And like Michelle said, you do not have to be president in order to win.
That's right. We're going to hunt you down.
That's right. Oh, well, thank you so much, Michelle. I did want to remind everybody, please be sure to visit the website, cdltier.org. Again, you can make donations through Cash App or through PayPal. And we should let everybody know that, Michelle, you're a driver as well, and you're recuperating from surgery right now, but you'll be out there driving here in a couple weeks, hopefully.
Well, as soon as I get back from Matt's, hopefully. That was the plan. But right now I'm still not weight bearing, which is just fine. I got a lot of weight, so there's no use bearing it.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Oh, and we just want to remind everybody. I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I just want something. I want to tell you something to think about. When things feel overwhelming, remember, you do it one thought at a time, one task at a time, and one day at a time, and you're going to walk through it.
Okay, I love that. That was a great way to end the show. Wow, that was good.
Okay, that's something I have to keep in mind sometimes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a really good reminder. Oh, my goodness. I do want to remind everybody that Larry and I will be back again next Wednesday. Our guest on our show for next Wednesday is going to be, believe it's going to be Jess and Bobby from the LGBTQ plus Truck Drivers Network. So they'll be joining us next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central, back here on Taillights with the Baums. And as always, you can catch Larry and I on Facebook at Married to the Road, and also on TikTok, Married to the Road as well. We want to thank everybody for listening to Taillights with the Baums, and stick around, everybody, because Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker is up next. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Be safe out there.
Driving 11 hours a day, 7 days a week can be emotionally and physically exhausting. Sleep is a very important part of a long-haul truck driver's life. Being well-rested and alert makes driving a lot safer for both the trucker and other drivers on the road. Getting enough sleep may sound easier than it seems. Living on the road makes it difficult to get the recommended 8 hours of sleep. In fact, it's common for truckers to not get 8 hours of sleep due to the 11-hour work shift. To help, we've put together 5 tips to help truckers stay awake while driving. Take vitamins. One way truckers can stay awake while driving is by taking vitamins. Not only are vitamins good energy boosters, they have tons of other health benefits too. Vitamin B helps with fatigue, depression, mood boosting, and muscle weakness. Consider adding vitamins to your morning routine. Eat healthy. An unhealthy diet has a huge impact on one's overall health. Dr. Jennifer Sachek says, our bodies rely on the energy and nutrients we get from food. So what you eat, and how and when you eat it, can either drain you or sustain you. It might be more convenient to stop at a fast food restaurant or truck stop, but constantly eating junk food drains your energy. Take a nap. Before you hit the road, consider taking a short 20-minute nap. Several studies have shown that a quick nap immediately increases alertness and gives a boost in cognitive performance. Stay hydrated. Water has many health benefits. One benefit is reducing the chance of being fatigued. Drinking a pint of cold water is a great way to refresh yourself and stay more alert. Listen to upbeat music. Listening to upbeat music will have you tapping your foot, singing along, and staying alert in no